Tonight on Joy News Prime, latest death in Friday morning accident to the Tema motorway adds to an alarming number of deaths from road crashes despite ongoing campaign to promote road safety. According to the latest statistics, 216 people died in May alone from road crashes, taking the toll from January this year to 1,250. Accra High Court hearing arguments by the police why the Fix the Country movement cannot be allowed to protest adjourns to June 14 after a clash between members and the police temporarily disrupted the hearing.
5 or 6 people entering a room. This is a manner.
The judge did make it clear that if you do not have the conveners here in court, I will not sit on the case. So how do you stop us and insist that our representatives are in? You know, and they manhandled her. How can you be pulling her and pushing her just because you wanted to claim her phone?
One of them.
Opposition NDC cites a number of indicators it says could spark another mass uprising similar to the June 4 revolution, which it commemorated Friday for the first time without its founder, the late former President Rawlings.
A principle of positive defiance is even more relevant today than it was in 1979. Because some of the things happening today are worse than what happened before the proclamation.
Minority in Parliament blame what it describes as a standstill in governance on the failure of the Kufuor administration to form governing boards of state agencies.
There's simply no reason why the president and his vice should allow the country to ground to a halt. They must constitute these boards and task them to fast track what they have to do so that people, especially who are owed a lot of money, will get paid.
In business, Bank of Ghana approves 100% increase in dividend payment for EcoBank Ghana shareholders. We'll hear from the MD as shareholders vote in favor of receiving 55 pesos per share.
So I confirm that the dividend payment had received the approval of the regulator.
And then later tonight at 8:30, we're bringing you the premiere of the Return Bribe, the Joy News Hotline documentary whose broadcast was stopped by the former head of legal affairs at the Food and Drugs Authority after she was recorded negotiating a bribe.
An allegation that on the 9th of April, you met the owner of Boa FS and then took an amount of 600,000 Ghana cedis. Is that correct?
Manasseh, it's interesting. I did get the questions that you put to me, but this was not part of it. But suffice it for me to say that these matters have been investigated.
My name is Israel and Joy News Prime is coming to you live from our Fanafat studios at Kokomlimle here in Accra on your digital terrestrial TV because we're free to air and also on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 144. This is the home of independent, fearless, credible and impactful journalism. Stay tuned in. One person has died with several others in critical condition after a Tema-bound fuel tanker veered onto the crab-bound lane of the motorway, crashing into 2 oncoming vehicles. The tanker driver is said to have lost control while attempting to dodge a vehicle. It had suddenly exited a branch road onto the motorway, a few meters from the Shamang overhead bridge. For more than 2 hours, as rescue efforts were made by other road users, emergency response was absent. The Friday motorway death adds to the alarming number of deaths through road accidents being recorded across the country. In the latest statistics, 216 people are said to have died from road crashes in the month of May, making it a total of 1,250 since January. We'll be taking a closer look at the latest statistics from the police MTTD after Manuel Scranting's report on this morning's accident.
As of the 3 vehicles that were involved in that accident currently being towed away with police escort, we're told that it veered off the main Tema-bound road on the Tema motorway because of a sudden entry into the road from one of the branch roads on this particular stretch. It was quite unfortunate with learning that the driver lost control of the vehicle, which then veered into another lane. It took about 3 to 4 hours to clear the entire debris, and just the last one being moved away from here. Some of the eyewitnesses who were actually involved in, securing and saving the people who were trapped in the Ruby have been telling me that it took frantic calls and efforts to get first responders to arrive at the scene several hours after the incident had occurred. We're told these are the guys who assisted in, clearing the debris and the rubble which had been caused by the accident. Boss,
but your friends are best 5:30 marching, then soon after Achimoto motorway no Sokakra. The tank no fee, Accra no day, Eba. Kabi branch road no day, or TS motorway, or TS no tank no day, opera break into opera break in Quanos Ayatro, no, AC, firm or Quanos. And that's if I'm now call another lane. Now, Russian Bureau, mid Quantifin. No can cement and a jump in a new to day. At 13 call different load no share car. Nekasha Canada to spot in the Impa back here day. We Kafnus on weird or more inside no more pay. The metam na 5:30 flambulance flambulance drive be a day. I'm business is here crap. Ya you more say 5 cents no day. Or mobile in the chest. Brian Brands and yet to me I survive we are in Impano. No, Massa, I
should now walk on in Nipano.
But me first person, I'm a back car, I started there. May white cars, I'm a blaway, or bands, maybe away, and I'm a small or for hammer. Nay, dear Bohama, Chisel be out in your day, encounter, I'm an company a day, your dear boy, and say you to me, driver, and say 2 now front. They say you want about nothing in your day, a boo boo, in the back on the side, near the wide, why in your midi.
Now, Muyi, no, now, we would that.
First accident in this year, yes, struggle be no way. Just as we pray, but no way. And the sports no fire service can it me by Nipano or home more than 1 hour. Still I know home. Still I know home. But
I don't think now more fan to car be more baby.
Satam of I ain't me you know. Why say we pray? Also, what that front say? Moja fini haseba, but only how home all right. But struggle say bet me a wife animuno. Ye nyashe hammer. Hammer near the bokran, Homan and why force. Your wife cried there, baby, I'm more common. He says, Assum. Near then yet and no cry chamber.
It's a traffic and Cassa Bahano
Pa. The policeman to me by saying business out. Want me fare service and ambulance and also from Momoba. More than 1 hour, 2 hours.
3 hours.
Ye nipping in our car. No, I'm saying. Walk on. We pride on Dawson, bet. I'm waiting. I'm shadow impressa. I'm more front. Driver and the one shadow impra. 2 nail car driver no hono. Baku then in Nemebu. Bakuna, they say, why in your media. Only extra first, best 1 hour on we. Yentimi why can't any near day? You know.
Hamika also saying tika munya ambulance and fire service emane by Tema can be to me
of course, I'm bad uncle but me Obenyankwa. As in a time you know 2 crab 1 hour no defamino crana ambulance be about fire service about like just the mojana I want to car be am peso be day oba fa na to ne car no mu enu na o ma ma yesu agina o ye kasakasa am o ye there o de hwe ne nkwa no.
Okay, so let me just speak to the driver of the Sprinter vehicle. Boss, if I talk be me kakra we dey o chin kan.
Yo, ni da nyamiasi.
Na dey ankasa ne sie.
Oh, na me ba no na enso epiti kakra. Enti dem me drew bridge no say dem say trailer no ase o twa ne ho. Em si no trailer we o ya ba ye kwa mu. Enti me ye ready man no. Enti dem say head no atra gota no na trailer no abufa so e ba ye kwa me na me dodge no fa soro ho no. Na car na di meti no enti me dodge no na o chia no.
Enti wo de o hu ne ntem na o dodge.
Hu ne ntem pa.
Enti wo si bo a car na wo echi no.
Oh,
na o car no in patim.
I mean me full set. Na me full way no enti obi asi e na eni soja for kra team soja for minute me car no na nyina ya si call ho no enti se na nipa na adena ye no yentimi pia gate no amia nipa na e front no enti yentimi pia no enti afi na nkofo epiepie eba na mo bua na ye yi no afiri mu.
Okay, the last.
So the latest death adds to the growing number of fatalities recorded in road crashes across the country. Seth Kwame Boateng has joined me via Zoom now with the very latest statistics. Seth Kwame Boateng, now I know you're part of the Arrive Alive team and you've been looking at these figures. The very latest that's coming in is still quite disturbing. Can you please take us through it? All right, we'll have to try and reach Seth again. Looks like the connection to him is not very stable. But Seth Kwame Boateng has the very latest statistics as far as accident rates at the accident in the country are concerned. We have, for the month of May, recorded 216 fatalities in road crashes. Seth Kwame Boateng, kindly take us through the stats that you have for May and then from the beginning of the year.
All right. So in May alone, 216 people were killed through road traffic accidents. If you add that to the previous figure, that is the first 4 months, it sums up to 1,250. That is from January to May, with 1,250 people have been killed in Ghana, and this is 26.32% rise when compared with same time last year. And with these statistics that we have for the month of May, we've had 1,309 people who have been injured, and out of this, so this represents 26.72% rise when we compare this to same time last year. So this is how it's looking. And with motorcycle-related deaths, Asia, that is alarming, and that is so serious. Between January and May, just 538 people through motorcycle-related accidents, and we've recorded 2,089 motorcycle accidents across the country.
All right, thank you very much, Seth Kwame Boateng. And this is despite the continuing campaign on road safety embarked upon by the Multimedia Group and several other organizations in the country. We continue to urge motorists to be safe on the roads. In other news, hearing of a case in which the Ghana Police Service is seeking to indefinitely stop a planned protest by the Fix the Country movement was temporarily disrupted Friday after some of its members were prevented from accessing the court premises by armed policemen deployed there. When the members were eventually allowed in, after the judge, hearing the case, excused the lawyers to go and resolve the standoff, the case was adjourned to June 14. Court correspondent Joseph Akable reports.
Take a good video. These men here said, almost say, when you got here, the first comment was, you will not let Fix the Country, will not let you in. That was the first comment. And they have seized my phone.
The chaotic scenes at the Law Court complex, specifically the entrance when the protesters attempted to gain access to the court premises in order to monitor the case that has been filed against them by the Ghana Police Service. The case was called at 9 a.m. and the judge had to put the case on hold as she was informed by the lawyers that the protesters were being prevented from coming into the courtroom. The protesters claim that they did not do anything to merit the force that they alleged the police to have used in order to prevent them from gaining access to the courtroom. Some of them have been speaking to us.
When we got to the gate, as soon as we got to the gate, of course, because of our t-shirts, they knew who we were. So they said, oh, Fix the Country, you can't come in. So we said, first they said, stand back. So we said, oh, okay. So we thought they just wanted to engage, and they said, you can't come in. Then we said, why can't we come in? They said, no, because you're not allowed in. They said, but we've been asked to come to court. So how can you tell us that we can't come in? So then I said, okay, I'm taking my phone out. I'm going to do a video. I want you to repeat what you just said on video. So I decided to do a Facebook Live. So while taking that video, And then he said, why are you? Then he took the phone, and of course, you saw him trying to drag me, obviously trying to get the phone out of my hands, and then just telling us that we can't come in, we need to get our lawyers. At that point, they realized, so that's basically what happened. It was just first of all, in the morning, we're supposed to meet at TUC. The police went there in their numbers, they gathered there in their numbers to wait for us. I don't know what they thought was going to happen.
At 4 a.m.
4 a.m. At 4 a.m. they were at TUC waiting for us to do what? When people need the police, you're calling them because some armed robbers are in your house. They can't even turn up. But Nyamabi said, yeah, they've managed to find the time and the energy and the resources to gather themselves. Look at us. How many of us are there? Why do you need that level of aggression at the gates when we've been called to come to court? And so...
But they make the point that the manner by which you are coming, and the judge eventually says you shouldn't come in groups, you should come individually.
What's the manner? A manner of 5 or 6 people entering a room. This is a manner.
The judge did make it clear that if you do not have the conveners here in court, I will not sit on the case. So how do you stop us and insist that our representatives are in? You know, and they manhandled her. How can you be pulling her and pushing her just because you wanted to claim her phone?
One of them actually had the audacity to say to me, if I wasn't working, you would have seen what I would do to you. And the other ones were agreeing with him. This is people that we pay with our taxes have the audacity to open their mouths and tell citizens that if I was not working, you would have known what I would do to you. So literally, so this is what he did when there was cameras, it was in public. Can you imagine what he would have done if it was a private place?
ACP Kwesi Foyo of the Greater Accra Region Police has been offering some explanations as to why his men had to prevent them from coming in.
This is a court premises, and that people should not come en masse, and that individually they can come in to the court. But looking at the premises, the police are here, one, to provide adequate security for the court building and all the other courts therein. So, coming en masse with placards, flags, and other paraphernalia, among other things, may mar the beauty and ethics of the court. In view of this, my men on the ground decided, among other things, that they could leave those placards, they could leave the flags, and then also, limit that militancy and go to the court as individuals. So that was the position of the police, but that was misconstrued. But at the end of the day, the police balance issues, and they were in, to appear before the court.
The protesters say that your men must have used a bit of violence. They told the court that one of them is injured and requires medical attention. Was that level of force necessary? They were just carrying a flag, a Ghana flag for that matter.
I think that is an issue of the court. As a police officer, I will not meddle in that.
Eventually, the case was called, and the main issue that the court had to deal with was the fact that the protesters had indicated that the police application asking that they are restrained from embarking on the street protest. They've now engaged lawyers, and it has just been brought to their attention, and so they needed some more time to file their responses. So the court adjourned proceedings to June 14 to enable them file that particular response. But the judge also gave some directions indicating that subsequently when they are coming into the court's premises, they should come individually, and there is no need for them to gather and come in such a manner that could potentially affect the peace around the court and its premises. This is the situation here. The case continues on June 14. My name is Joseph Akable. I'm reporting for Joy News from the Law Courts Complex.
In other news, General Secretary of the Opposition NDC, Johnson Yesiedun-Ketia, is warning Ghana could see another revolution similar to the June 4 uprising that ushered in the Rawlings era if steps are not taken to address the ills plaguing society now. He cited, among others, misapplication of the law, recruitment of vigilantes into state agencies, selective justice, and suppression of free speech, he says, are happening under the Akufo-Addo administration, and which could trigger a revolt of the masses. Addressing supporters of the NDC at the 42nd commemoration of the June 4 revolution, he urged government to take the advice seriously. My colleague Kwesi Parker Wilson has the rest of the story.
Some supporters and national leadership of the NDC converged at the party's national headquarters, despite the downpour to commemorate the anniversary, for the first time without the party's founder, the late former President Jerry John Rawlings, party chairman Samuel Fosampofo, General Secretary Johnson Asedu Nkatia, MP for Clote Kole, and daughter of late President Rawlings, Dr. Ezaneto Rawlings, all defied the rain for the nearly 15 minutes that it poured. Mr. Ampofo accused Chief Justice Eni Niabua of criminalizing free speech.
In a country where free speech is being criminalized. So this country is in a very dangerous state. And you get up and talk, intellectuals are not talking. Because even when people are doing intellectual analysis of legal issues and rulings, the Chief Justice himself is reporting people and sending them to the General Legal Council. The time has come for us to rise up against impunity. The time has come for us to rise up against. Today is June 4th, and we must say enough is enough.
The General Secretary, Johnson Asedu Nkatia, addressed the supporters on the relevance of June 4 to contemporary Ghanaian democracy, insisting evidence abounds that probity and accountability are being undermined by the current administration.
The law is a double-edged sword. We have rule of law and we have rule by law. Rule of law means that the law is supreme. So those who are even implementing the law are not above the law. So we are all equal before the law. So when there is anything that must be settled, and we have to settle it through the law, we look at genuinely what the legal position is and put it there. Whether it is against us who are implementing the law or not, we accept it and live by it. Rule by law, on the other hand, is that you take the law as the ruler and see how you can manipulate the law and use it to suppress the people and to achieve whatever dictatorial ends you wish for yourself. But when you are asked questions, you say, go and look at the law. It is the law that is saying it. It is not the law that is saying it. It is you who are misapplying the law. The principle of positive defiance is even more relevant today than it was in 1979. Because some of the things happening today are worse than what happened before the proclamation of the Constitution.
Daughter of the late former president, Zaneto Rawlings, also speaking at the event, charged the Ghanaian youth to speak truth to power.
Not too long ago, and perhaps maybe I just go back to when the PNDC was in power. Some of the people today who are at the forefront of breaking our laws were the very ones pointing fingers at others. And now that they have the power, it looks as though they're not able to stand up to their own ideals. If today we're celebrating June 4th without the man who we've all come to know so closely associated with this, but the principles remain, it is a reminder to all of us that we are mortal, but the principles and values are immortal. If the universe was spoken into being, then words matter. And our words must show the actions that we actually live by, those principles and those values. Now, more than ever, we must be able to speak truth to power. Because if we do not, we leave room for something that we cannot anticipate, that we do not want.
Former president and flag bearer of the NDC in the 2020 general elections, John Mahama, echoed similar sentiments raised at the forum in an article he published on his website. Let's get to the websites now, where he goes on to make reference to the late President Jerry John Rawlings and his contribution to the state, as well as what he has done, and the sentiments of the revolution, he says, are still relevant now. It says 42 years on, our economy and democracy are in dire straits. Economic hardship, insecurity, political and ethnic polarization, deepening inequality, politicization of our democratic institutions, corruption, serious problems in the education and health sectors are challenges Ghanaians are confronted with in our daily lives. This has led to a crisis of confidence in the political leadership. Ghana is a country with exceptional human talent. Time is ticking fast, and yet we can make things right if we work as one nation with a common destiny. As I've said in the past, broad consultations and consensus building does not take anything away from a leader. Broad consultations that bring the best and brightest together with stakeholders can forge consensus around issues such as economic recovery, strategy, or implementational challenges of free SHS in the national interest. The values June 4 espoused some 4 decades ago remain as relevant today as ever before in our nation's democratic journey. June 4 engendered hope in our people that the ills of our society will be rooted out and replaced with values of virtue and honesty. If we must get our people to hope again and to trust in our institutions and government, then we must encourage fearless honesty as enjoined by our national anthem. You're watching Joy News Prime. We're taking a break to bring you business news. But still ahead in the bulletin, minority in Parliament blame what it describes as a standstill in governance or the failure of the Kufuor administration to constitute governing boards of state agencies.
There's simply no reason why the president and his vice should allow the country to ground to a halt. They must, constitute these boards and task them to fast track what they have to do so that people, especially who are owed a lot of money, will get paid.
In business, Bank of Ghana approves 100% increase in dividend payment for EcoBank shareholders. We'll hear from the MD as shareholders vote in favor of receiving 155 pesos per share.
Yes, I confirm that the dividend payment had received the approval of the regulator.
And then later tonight at 8:30, we bring you the premiere of The Return Bribe. The Joy News Hotline documentary whose broadcast was stopped by the former head of legal affairs at the Food and Drugs Authority after she was recorded negotiating a bribe.
An allegation that on the 9th of April, you met the owner of Kwa FS and then took an amount of 600,000 Ghana cedis. Is that correct?
Manasseh, it's interesting. I did get the questions that you put to me, but this was not part of it. But suffice it for me to say that these matters have been investigated.
The full documentary will be up in just about an hour from now. Do stay tuned in for that. Up next, we'll bring you business news after the break.
Yeah, welcome to Business. I'm Charles Aite. Shareholders of EcoBank Ghana will be receiving an amount of 55 pesos per share as dividend payment from the bank for the year ended 2020. Now, this is a 100% increase in amount over the 2019 rate, and this follows the approval by the Bank of Ghana for the increment and payment by the Board of Directors. Here's a report filed by Ebenezer Sabute.
The bank's 2020 performance has guaranteed confidence from the regulator for the next medium term. The bank, however, recorded a contraction in its loan book by 7% attributed to the reduction in economic activities due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Speaking to shareholders of the bank at a virtual annual general meeting in Accra, Managing Director Dan Saki explained that the regulator has approved the payment, which is a total amount of 177 million cedis due to improvement in financial soundness indicator.
Yes, I confirm that the dividend payment had received the approval of the regulator. And the fact that the regulator has approved confirms that they had taken into consideration the capital adequacy position of the bank, the NPL position, the provisions that have been taken to cover this, the liquidity needs of the bank, and loan projection growth for the next 1 to 2 years to be able to allow the payment of this level of dividend. So yes, dividend is going up by 100%, but we have met all the regulatory requirements that had been set prior to declaring the dividend.
Commenting on the cost of operations, the MD of Ecobank Ghana disclosed that about 32 branches of Ecobank are operating on solar energy and hope to include more branches before the end of the year.
We do have 65 branches currently, and I can confirm that as we speak, 32 of these branches are running on solar. We have a joint plan to install solar on our branches, in our branches, to make sure that during the day we can be powered fully by solar, and if there is a shortfall, it can be met from the normal grid. So we have a hybrid situation where we are running on both solar and electricity energy in the branches. What is interesting is that we've achieved this without actually putting out any financial outlay.
Ecobank in 2020 emerged the most profitable bank in Ghana with a profit of 584 million cedis. Now, the determination of the new national daily minimum wage could influence discussions for fresh service conditions, particularly in the private sector. For those are the thoughts of some labor experts sampled by Joy Business after the announcement of this year's minimum wage, which took effect today. The National Tripartite Committee announced 12 cedis 53 pesos as the new minimum daily wage for this year, representing a 6% increase. That of next year will be 13 cedis 53 pesos, an 8% jump in that regard. According to some of the experts, workers have a case for fresh collective bargaining agreements since the majority of employers pay above these wage levels. Here's labor expert Austin Game speaking early on the marketplace.
The pay increase, as you rightly said in your intro, is controlled by collective agreement and other conditions of service, which the parties have a right to go to table to determine. But the national daily minimum wage is a barest minimum wage based upon the economic circumstances of any given nation. Ghana, no exception.
Well, of course, as we've also rightly stated, this is based on negotiations. But could this trigger discussions on fresh conditions of service, especially for the private sector? If so, is it justified?
Yes, that's always been the case, and today will not change. Yes, there is even an ongoing negotiations now, and there will be a lot more. In the private sector, they have a collective agreement of conditions of service, which are time-bound. Therefore, if your time is due, you go to table, particularly so because they are already paying above the national daily minimum wage.
All right.
It is not, you are not under any pressure, but when your time is due, you go to table and negotiate.
And the minimum wage has been reviewed, but transport fares have gone up as well as fuel prices. Could there be an impact on inflation? There are fears that general price levels of goods and services could hit the roof following the adjustment. Now, this could reverse efforts to reduce interest rates in the coming months. Government statistician Professor Samuel Kopona-Ening downplays any serious impact on inflation. Speaking on PM Express, he said that any shift might be even insignificant.
At Statistical Service, as much as possible when it comes to these key statistics, we try to move away from projections simply because we appreciate the fact that several factors would influence the final value final statistics that you're going to get out of the estimation. So yes, transport fares have gone up.
Going to go up, sorry.
One would expect that it would affect inflation, but we don't know how the other variables are going to play out. Don't forget that we have the food and the non-food component influencing inflation, the final figure. The weight on food is always impacting because it's about 45% of the basket, and with all the other non-food taking the other percentage. So we are always hesitant in saying that definitely there's going to be a variation, an upward variation for that matter, in inflation as a result of an upward change in transport fares.
And I also look at minimum wage also going up as well. Would all these things cause any shifts? Not the exact numbers, but would that impact as well?
It would definitely cause some shifts, but as to whether the net value would cause, the net value would show that it's moved this way or the other, depends on the relative impact of all these other factors.
That'll be all for business. Sports is up next. To stay.
Many thanks for staying with us here on Joy News Prime Time to bring you the sports. My name is Hans Mensah, and the former Germany striker Gerald Asamoah has been explaining why he opted to play for Diamond Shaft. He was speaking to my colleague Gary Al Smith in an exclusive interview.
I never. It was like what I said. It's like it shouldn't be, and I came. I think they were fighting for me to come and play for them. So, and they knew Germany wanted me to play for them. So I said, no, I'm going to my mother and I want to play for Ghana. And I came. It was my first time coming back to Ghana.
Wow.
I left Ghana, which was I came when I was 19 years, and so I was surprised they didn't use me. I think I need to play 1 second and I couldn't play for Germany again. So they didn't do it. So I went back. And
so what? You were part of the squad?
I was part of the squad. I came with Otto Addo. I think the squad. I knew some players with Kufuor, with Charles Akuna. I was playing with them in Germany, so they were like my big brothers who were trying to help me being in Ghana. And so I was so surprised because they were also surprised not being the first 18 teams. So that's what I didn't know. And then I left Ghana and let's camps, and I think they came to Germany to talk to me, the GFA guys, I think 2 guys, but it was like, please give me my time, I want to sort everything and see what future brings.
And so you became a German player. Rudi Völler gave you your first opportunity in 2001. What did it feel like wearing the jersey of the German national team instead of Ghana?
I think wearing a jersey for Ghana is, I think, something special because, you know, you were born in Ghana, you are from Ghana, you moved to Germany and became a German on paper, but in heart you still know you are a Ghanaian. And I think if I should wear the jersey of Ghana, I think it will give me more spirit than wearing the German jersey. But all of this, I'm thankful for wearing the German jersey because they made me something, they gave me something, they gave me their love. And I think I open ways for other guys, I open ways for Ghanaians to be accepted in Germany also. So I think this way was, I think it was nice playing for Germany. It will be nice standing there and hearing the Ghana national anthem. It will be amazing. I remember 2006 we were in the camp with the German team and Ghana was playing first game, and I and Odonko just stand up and sing this national anthem because it was amazing seeing Ghana being.
What's his name? Odonko, yes. Odonko. The fast player.
Only a fast guy. It's amazing seeing Ghana in the World Cup first time, and I was so proud.
It's a weekend of derbies in the Ghana Premier League as Accra Hearts of Oak play Gold Olympics and Kotoko come up against Ashanti Gold. Here are the fixtures for March week 28.
Weekend dominated by derbies which could have huge ramifications at the top of the table and at the bottom as well. Hearts of Oak feel buoyant as they seek to exact revenge when the two sides lock horns with each other at the Accra Sports Stadium. Oli carried the day in the reverse fixture with a 2-0 win against a jerky Hasden under head coach Costa Papic. But there have been massive changes since then. The Phobians appointed Samuel Boadu after Costa Papic resigned. And
so let's take a look at the full complement of the fixtures for March week 28 in the Ghana Premier League. There you go. Asante Kotoko play against Ashanti Gold. There's Bekum Chelsea versus Ken Faisal. Dreams FC play Elmina Sharks. And Ebusia Dwarfs will play against Aduana Stars. Great Olympics versus Heart of Oak on Sunday, the top lineup for this weekend. And there's Liberty Professionals versus Wafa. 11 Wonders will play against Bichim United. And then on Monday, I beg your pardon, Legon Cities will play against Inter Allies. And that'll be all for sports. There is more sports at myjoyonline.com/sports. My name is Hans Mensah Ando.
The minority in parliament is claiming governance in the country is at a standstill currently as a result of delays by President Akufo-Addo in appointing board members of various government agencies. Tamale North MP Alhassan Suyini says the NHIA, Road Fund and other agencies are unable to get approvals to disburse funds as a result. He says this is resulting in Ghanaians struggling to access quality health care, among other services. He says the president must sit up and make the appropriate appointments so the country can make progress.
One of the key, catalysts for government business is the decisions that are taken at board levels, because many ministries operate with agencies under them, and these agencies are the implementing arms of the ministries. So for example, you go to the National Health Insurance. If we are going to hold, say, the Minister of Health responsible for some implementation lapses as far as our policies on health is concerned, the National Health Insurance is key. And if you do not have a board in place that will facilitate the day-to-day running of the institution, as currently is the case, you are going to have, facilities that are offering health and expecting payments suffer, because their debtors will not, their creditors will not give them the luxury of time, and even if they do, it's going to come at a cost. And so you have many health institutions that are currently turning away patients because the National Health Insurance Secretariat owes them, and they are not able to pay because there's no board in place. Same is happening at the Road Fund Secretariat, where many road contractors are burdened by loans that they took from banks, and are burdened by the monthly interest that accrue on those loans. Yet they have finished their work, submitted their certificates, and government is unable to function because there's no road fund board in place. And it is the reason why the system is simply not functioning as we speak. It doesn't look like this is a government in its second term. I mean, some of these slow decisions are tolerated when there is a transition from one party to another in governance. But in this case, you have the same president, you have the same vice president, you largely have the same ministers who have all been vetted and approved. And so you wonder why it is taking this long for these boards to be constituted, for government business to run. There's simply no reason why the president and his vice should allow the country to ground to a halt. They must, constitute these boards and task them to fast track what they have to do, so that people, especially who are owed a lot of money, will get paid.
Still in Parliament, Deputy Minister Designate for Communications, Mahama, has defended government's decision to order mobile telecommunication companies to re-register all SIM cards in the country, insisting it is in the national interest. The minority has criticized the move, saying it would be a waste of resources. Mahama, however, says the move will help curb crime. But Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu disagrees with why the re-registration is being limited to the Ghana card alone. Listen to them speak at the sitting of the committee.
Even trace. So I think it's very, very important for us to do the SIM registration with an ID that is traceable. For example, now with the Ghana card, I believe they have our digital addresses, and all other things are being merged into that card. So whoever gets a SIM card would be very mindful of what he or she uses the phone for. So I think it's a very good idea.
This is not more, because we have the privilege of the Minister for Communication, who is a member of our committee sitting in, and our colleague Poma, Donald Poma, will be assisting her. We all need to improve because we are seeking the good of our country. One, when you undertake a SIM registration exercise and you narrow it only to people with national ID card, when it has not covered the national population, that will be problematic in terms of what you want to achieve. Now, two, you also observe that when you undertake a SIM registration, and you don't have deadlines. I mean, anywhere in the world, all of your SCF colleagues, you travel abroad, you would not get a SIM if you don't submit an ID of a passport, a national ID card. Look at the numbers of national ID card. Many of our populations don't have it. But there is not necessarily a question. The problem is that mobile penetration, as Minister will tell you, Ghana has exceeded 150%, even it will be an understatement. So it means more people have SIMs than even our population. So it means that there are multiple SIMs in the system. You just want to be able to trace it for purpose of banking. Now that you do Momo, you should be able to trace who cashed this money. When did the person cash the money? So that if fraud is involved, we'll be able to deal with it.
In another development, the minority in Parliament says it will summon Energy Minister Matthew Poku-Prempeh to the House over what it says is a refusal of PDS to release monies belonging to the Electricity Company of Ghana. At the Appointments Committee sitting Thursday, Deputy Energy Minister-designate William Oreku-Edu stated that efforts are underway to assist the ECG to recover the amounts after the power distribution company allegedly refused to pay the monies following the botched PDS ECG deal. Boku Central MP and a member of the Appointments Committee, Mahama, tells parliamentary correspondent Joseph Opoku-Gakpo he is not satisfied with the responses so far and hints of his intention to give the issue further push.
Oreku on the 2 million PDS ECG.
I was very dissatisfied. I mean, I felt very bad about it. That first he admitted that he had requested for the information, that he was given 2 different sets of information by the 2 different parties involved, but he declined to make either of the information available to the committee. And, you know, I felt very gagged, you know, as I tried to probe further into such an important matter involving what I believe is close to $200 million, which is public money. And so I really find it unfortunate. But the matter will not end there, because I'm going to follow up on this issue. In the debate on his report, I would insist, because I actually did indicate to the chairman of the committee that I will require that he provides that information, since he says he has it. And then secondly, we will also request of the minister responsible for the sector to come to Parliament and give us exact details of the amounts involved, which account. I'm told, I don't want to mention the name of the bank, but I know the bank where it has been kept, what has happened to the interest on the money.
What's happening to the interest on the money?
That's the issue. That's the issue. That's the issue. I'm sure when we get to know the details of the account, I'm sure we'll also get to know if the account has been accruing interest and what has been happening to that interest.
Is it something that the Committee on Mines and Energy should probably express?
I don't care whether Committee on Mines and Energy or Finance, but I will take it up. If the committees don't take it up, I will take it up.
As in, you would push for the House itself?
I will push for the House to demand answers. Not necessarily a petition, a question to the sector minister should resolve the issue.
How bad is this for ECG and the energy sector? They've been operating all this while with all the money.
But then you have been hearing about the energy sector debt. So if there's a debt, and then within the sector, there's money belonging to the institutions who own who owe. If they are giving their money, they'll be able to pay their debts. It's as simple as that.
Sure.
You know. So if somebody owes to the tune of 1 billion, and the person has about 500 million lying somewhere, at least that will resolve, you know, the matter. And here I'm told that they owe to the tune of about 2-point-something billion. And, you know, 200 million is close to 1 billion.
The second of 2 Rastafarian students earlier denied admission by Achimoto School has finally been enrolled. Tharon Iris Maguire, who was admitted as a science student, headed straight into the exams hall after registration, as Achimoto School has commenced its end-of-term examinations. His father, Terio Maguire, says he's confident, although his son has lost almost the entire term, he can still pass the exams. Kwekwe Sante has more.
Tharon Iris Maguire, the second of 2 Rastafarian students who were early on denied admission by Achimoto School, has formally and officially gone through the admission process and has been admitted by Achimoto School. As we've reported some days ago, Achimoto School has started their exams this week. And when Tyrone Iras Magai went through the admission procedures and was finally admitted, he had to go straight into the exams hall and start his exams. According to his father, Terry Magai, he was confident that even though his son has lost almost the semester, he can still write the exams.
Well, he was cool, you know, because when we asked if he was going to take the exams, you know, the director of studies asked me if I would like him to take the exams, and I said, yeah. We were going to try to, we would take it on, you know. And we asked him, and he said, yeah, he's cool with it. We will try, you know.
They say they were very happy with the reception that management and students of Achimoto School gave them when they went in, and they are confident he's going to have a good time. And then later somebody came. I think he said he's the director of studies. So he came and received us. He took the stuff, and then he took also the papers, the forms, and then he took him to his class.
Did you get it? Okay.
Yes, sir. Yeah, he took him to his class. Yeah. Well, absolutely, because we were even surprised, you know. Everybody was friendly, and the director of studies said nobody is against him, and the headmistress is a very nice person. And nobody's taking anything personal. All the teachers and everybody there welcomes us, and we can be rest assured that nothing bad will happen to Tyrone.
We know that these students had to sue Achimoto School to compel them to admit them. Achimoto School decided that it was going to appeal that decision, and not only that, they were going to file for a stay of execution. It took the intervention of the Attorney General, Godfred Yebo Adame, for the school to rescind its decision with regards to the stay of execution, although the appeal will still be pending. So today, the two students are all in Achimoto School. They are taking the exams, and they are confident that by the time they are able to finish the school here, they will have a great time here. Reporting for Joy News, Kweku Asante, Achimoto School.
Now, the Bansa twins, due for a series of major surgeries to separate them at the skull, have had crucial scans ahead of the life-saving procedure, which is billed to last probably several days. Eurocare labs at Cantonment, where scans were done for free on the conjoined skulls of the Siamese twin babies, said it was its corporate social responsibility to support the cause. This will be the first time ever that such a procedure to separate twins conjoined at the head will be done in Ghana, and it will involve as many as 30 doctors. There is more in the following report.
Eurocare labs in Cantonments today carried out crucial scans on the conjoined skulls of the Siamese twin babies as part of preparation for life-saving separation surgery. This will be the first time ever that such a procedure to separate twins conjoined at the head will be done in Ghana. Operational manager of Eurocare, Nadia Bekwin, explained what motivated them to assist the twins with free scans.
So these are twins whose heads have been joined, and also one can imagine how difficult it will be for them growing up. So this is rather an unfortunate situation, but obviously not unsurmountable. The boldness of the doctors in Ghana to separate them is something we applaud and we will always support. Eurocare, as part of our corporate social responsibility, is very happy to do this procedure at no cost to the family. This is our contribution towards the welfare of the family, to our community, and also to serve as capacity building within the healthcare industry in Ghana.
Dr. Benjamin Dabo Sarkodie is a consultant interventional radiologist. He told Joy News why the tests were important.
These kids are quite unfortunate that they will be sharing very vital organs, especially the head, the brain. In order to be able to separate them surgically or through surgery, we need to understand the blood flow to both twins. We need to understand if there are any connections so that we know which ones we can preserve and which ones we can sacrifice. So that is the idea of doing all of this.
It took 13 medical staff, including 4 anesthesiologists, to transport the conjoined twins and administer the scans. Consultant neurosurgeon and head of the twin surgical team explains why.
Right, so today's procedure is one of the most important procedures for the accurate surgical planning for the surgery, and to really understand how the anatomy of the conjoined twins is, the level and the grade at which we need to work, and also try to use this to model and be able to work on it in the laboratory before we can actually come out to talk about any surgical procedure. And one very important thing I need to emphasize is that this is a huge teamwork. We have about 30 doctors, all consultants and senior specialists working day and night on this reading. And today alone, we had to deploy about 13 of them, about 4 anesthesiologists to be able to put them to sleep, 2 for each baby. We had about 6 radiologists looking at it and sharing notes and comparing, and bringing up that teamwork, that enthusiasm that we find in each one of them. About 3 neurosurgeons also helping, looking at whatever is happening. So resource-wise, it's quite demanding because each one of us doing this is of no cost to the family, and people are just happy to be part of it. And I just want to emphasize that we are really grateful to Eurocare for offloading the cost of the shoulders of the family, because each one of the tests is $6,700. That would have been $13,400 thereabout if they were to charge.
This will be the first of many scans and tests the twins will be subjected to in the 12 to 18-month-long process to separate the Siamese twins who are conjoined at the tops of their heads. MD of Eurocare, Maurice Goleku, highlights the potential difficulties the team may face in transporting the twins to and from the diagnostics center.
Because the twins are conjoined, at any point in time they need to be moved via a stretcher. So we had to enroll the services of the National Ambulance Service, and we had to enroll the assistance of various nurses and other doctors to help move them from Ridge facility to Eurocare. So they were put on a stretcher, and then we had to specially strap them in place so that they did not, because it's not a normal, they are not normally positioned. So we had to ensure that they were well strapped, and then at each point in time we have to make sure they are properly positioned so that they can be moved up to this facility. And other facilities that do not have access to lifts make it difficult for us to make use of those places. So at each point in time, they have to be on a stretcher, and they have to make use of lift systems to bring them up.
For Joy News, my name is Kojo Yankson.
And do stay tuned to Joy News as we bring you updates on how the doctors here in Ghana pull off this very major critical surgery. We're taking a break here on Joy News Prime to bring you more business news. Charles Aite standing by. Stay tuned.
In business, the Ghana Statistical Service has justified the population and housing census exercise, insisting it has enormous benefits for the economy and businesses. This follows complaints that more than $500 million cedis being spent on the census is too expensive for the country, especially in an era of COVID-19. Government statistician Professor Samuel Kopna-Aining says the expected benefits of the exercise far outweigh the cost.
If you look at our case, where in 2010 we used 70 million for 24.6 million people, the unit census cost was about $2.89 US, and this time around with 31.6 million, approximately 90 million US, is coming to about 2.84 per person for the census exercise. So indeed, one would have to ask, what would be the basis to say that it is too high or it is too low? I stretch the argument beyond the per person cost, and I say to myself that this decennial activity at the minimum is going to give us as a country about 2.6 million indicators. If you divide this by the 521.3, you're getting less than 200 Ghana cedis for an indicator that will save life. So what are we putting premium on in saying that something is too expensive or otherwise? So We just need to look at, one, what is happening in other jurisdictions, two, what has happened in the past, and three, what we are getting out of the exercise.
And just so you appreciate how important the census exercise is, I will take you next to the Bono East region, where authorities there are hopeful the census would help guide the region's development plan. The region, which is one of the 6 new regions created in the year 2019, currently lacks accurate data. This, according to the Regional Coordinating Director, is affecting the region's planning in terms of job creation and development. Correspondent Anna Sabed has more.
As one of 6 new regions created in the year 2019, authorities in the Bono East region are excited with the upcoming population and housing census. The region currently lacks adequate and accurate data to help guide the region's development plan. Regional Coordinating Director Mr. George Padmore Mensah told Joy News that the region is fully committed to making sure that the exercise is executed successfully.
As a Regional Coordinating Council, we are looking forward to get the data, adequate data, to help us in our planning. We were covered from the SY Bron Alpha region, and so getting the data for the Bron East region is very difficult. And this census is going to help us to get specific data for our region. So I want to say that the Regional Coordinating Council, when we are planning, that we know that we have this number of unemployed persons, and then what strategies that we are going to mount to get them jobs.
He called on stakeholders present at the regional launch of the 30-day countdown to contribute towards sensitizing the populace in order to get them all counted. With the increasing number of armed robbery cases recorded in some parts of the region, Mr. Mensah assured that the Regional Security Council is providing enough security personnel to ensure that enumerators get through the exercise safely.
The Regional Security Council has already met on that, and then we have put into arrangement. We know the hotspot areas, especially with the census night, the enumerators that will be going to count people. We are making arrangements. We've talked to the 3BN Sunyani. We have a platoon here, military platoon. We have the Regional Police Command and all the security agencies. We are arranging for adequate security, and we'll ensure that we're going to have a peaceful and a safe program.
Let's now bring you a wrap of international business news. And that'll be it for business. I'm Charles Aite.
Thank you very much, Charles, for business news.